Welcome to the inaugural video for Tipsy Vulcan Modeling. My name is Paulo, and what we're going to do on this very first video is take what is at its base a very simple kit, the Polar Lights USS Discovery 1/2500 scale kit, and we're going to make it complicated. The kit itself is very simple, very well built. It can be done super simple. It's already comes in kind of this champagne gold color, base color, and it's fully stickered and it's snapped together. So one could literally snap this thing together in a day, less than a day probably, and spend the next day doing the stickers, because it's pretty, like I said, it's completely covered in stickers and decals, and knock this thing out pretty easily in a weekend if you weren't doing anything to it. What we're going to do, the complicating factor is we're going to fully light this. Green Strawberry makes a photo etch set for this kit, and it consists of two sheets, and as you can see, it's got little teeny windows all over the place, and so what we're gonna do is, using 0605 strip lighting, LED lighting, which I'll explain later, light up all these tiny windows, even around the edge, the rims, inside, along the body, in addition to lighting up the nacelles, and we'll light up the rear impulse engines. These little parts here, I noticed in the show, glow red, so we'll light those up. Bridge obviously will light up. The deflector shield down here will light up. But yeah, so that's going to be the complicating factor. There's, haven't counted them, but I guess 100 or so, maybe, little tiny windows on this model that we're going to light up. So, like any model, first step is to go wash your parts off to make sure you get the covering. I'll try in this video to hit highlights, go into detail where we need to go. I'm going to try to find a happy medium between, overkill of spending hours on something simple like washing a model or something like that, but also not just gloss over the complicated parts like maybe the lighting it. But I'll have to wash the model first. This kit is quite simple. According to the box, it has 28 parts. If you're not lighting the kit, you ought to be able to knock this out, at least building it, certainly within a day. On these two sprues, we've got the saucer bottom and top, the main body bottom and top, the bridge area, a few other assorted parts. On this sprue, we've got the nacelles and the bridge, as it were, the neck from the main body to the saucer for the bottom side. Then there's the clear parts. We've got the ones that get painted clear blue and then sandwiched between the nacelles so that they glow blue when you light this up. All the blue parts for the front of the nacelles and the front deflector area, and then these will be red. The rear thrusters will be painted red. So any model building should start with washing your model parts with Dawn soap or some kind of dishwashing liquid to get the molding oils and stuff off of your model. Otherwise, you risk, when you're painting and taping and painting, when you're peeling tape off, having a piece of your paint come off with the tape. And it's just a good habit to get in. To always, your first step should be to wash your model. I'm sure you get the point. I'll wash up the rest of these off camera. I'm going to go ahead as step 2 and cut out the parts and sand them. So, you know, cut at the sprue line, leaving a little bit of sprue on your part. If I was cutting here, I would leave a little bit of flash there, and then use your files and sanding sticks to smooth that in. Otherwise, if you try to cut it flush, inevitably it cuts a little bit into the model and just leaves a little something you'll have to fix up with putty later. Because there's so few parts here, there's not really any need to number your parts or anything, except for on the nacelles, which one's the right, which one's the left, or should I say the port and the starboard nacelle. It's a little bit subtle, so you can save yourself a few minutes of headache later by numbering them. I think they run like 6 through 8 or something like that, and so I Sharpie them on the inside of the number, and then eventually I just have a little piece of tape because I'm going to light block these, so I'll be painting over the Sharpie. But anyway, I found that numbering these beforehand is a little helpful on the 4 nacelles. Everything else is obvious what the parts are. So I've laid out here my tools for cutting out and smoothing off the flash from the model. Obviously the snippers, and then files going from, you know, a fairly coarse diamond type file, and then I have these sanding sticks that go from coarse to super fine. And yeah, so let's snip one out. On these wings back here, they get hidden within the model, so you don't have to be that clean. But up here at the front is where we want to try to get kind of a clean cut. And I've left a little bit of extra there to file and sand off, and I'll do that off camera, but I'm sure you get the point. Be careful when you're doing these round edges. If you overdo it, you can kind of flatten them out. I'm just using
well, the file for the big stuff, and then just different sanding sticks, each one with the finer grit. My particular ones come in kind of a grayish black, then blue, yellow, and orange, going from kind of gritty down to very fine. And just want to get that flash off. And again, on the curved pieces, you want to make sure you sand kind of on a curve, or else you'll leave a flat spot there that you don't want to do. And a little bit of an edge still there, which will take off. And there you have it, all gone. There are two pieces of surgery you're going to want to do to your main hull before light blocking it. I mean, I suppose you could do it afterward, but well, at least this piece should be done before. So I use 30 gauge magnet wire for little projects like this. It's super thin wire, and we'll go into how to use it and how to get it ready, etc. But anyway, so this is the main hull, and the nacelles come off of here, and so you need to drill a channel basically from here to here, here to here, so that your magnet wire will come off of your nacelles and go down the center hole, which is where all the wiring will eventually come out. We'll go through a little post here down. And I just saw something called a tape type wire. I've got an order in for it. It might work really well here too. It looks like literally just a little thin piece of copper tape. But then I guess I'd have to probably run the magnet wire coming off the nacelle to it, which, yeah. So anyway, what we're going to do is we'll just put a trench right there and a trench right there, and before we light block this, so we're not messing with the paint. And then this piece here has these two sections right here cut out, and there's photo etch that lays down in there, and then there's a decal, kind of a bluish decal, that goes over the photo etch. And seems to me that on some of the shows I've seen, this is actually glowing a little bit red, so I may run a little flicker SMD down below each one of these, and I'm also going to run 2 flicker SMDs back here for the impulse engines. But that's in the future. But the point right now is I'll need to cut these 2 pieces out. The other piece of surgery that I'll do right now, and then coat these guys, you know, in the light blocking, in the black and the reflective white. Just mark out the channel roughly from in between those 2 guys. No real rocket science here, even though we're working on the starship. You can use this side right over here as kind of your guide, because this whole piece here is inserted into the nacelle, so the very edge of it you won't see anyway. You do not have much material to work with here, but on the other hand, with this magnet wire, you don't obviously have to go very deep. If you're not familiar with the magnet wire, it's a coated. It comes in 30 gauge and 28 gauge, and so it's super thin and it's coated. And I'll show this when we do our first set of lights, but yeah, you just take a little solder and clean off a tip, and it gets down to the copper. You burn off, I use red for positive. There's no white, so I use green, the other color, for negative. But the magic on this stuff is it's just super thin. So as you can see, it doesn't take much of a channel to lay this in. And so, there we have our channel. I use a little bit of black tape to hold it in when we're done. So I'm just going to run the same channel over on this side, and then this piece will be ready for light blocking. So I won't film, obviously, too much light blocking. I mean, all you're doing is sloppily painting interiors, so there's not much to it. But I did want to point out, on the molds where you have these little round indentations, you want to pay a little extra special, like put a drop in there and rub it around wherever you have these, because light really tends to shine through. And also, even when you have raised areas, for some reason right around the borders, light really seems to shine through. And so I'll go through all these pieces off camera, paint a couple, 2-3 coats of black, probably 2 coats of black, and then 1 or 2 coats of white, and then come back when that's done. Here's a hint when doing your light blocking. I thought maybe, since I'm hand painting this and I was painting it on pretty thick, that maybe 1 coat would be enough. When you're doing your light blocking, take a little LED flashlight and just put it right there up against the back, because your LEDs are going to be sitting right near, or right on in this case. And you can see here that after 1 coat, we still have light coming through. Here's one of those little round spots. They're always kind of a problem. But going all the way around, 1 coat just didn't do it. Now, we'll have white over this, we'll have primer and paint on the other side, so it doesn't have to be perfect, but I'm definitely going to add a 2nd coat of black and maybe 2 coats of white to these parts before I'm done light blocking. One of the essential tools of model building, especially if you're going to be lighting your model, is a Dremel or some type of rotary tool. I use a cordless one. Been very happy with it. It's got various speeds. Of course, Dremel makes a million different heads. I use it for drilling, for grinding, sometimes like sanding and finishing. Anyway, you see I've got in this head little tiny grinding head, and so we'll just use that to grind out this guy here. And this piece has a little corner that stays right there, so don't grind that out. And of course, same on the other side. And I won't film the grinding, but we'll just get that out and then clean it up with files till and then later on, actually, we'll clean it up when we're fitting the photo etch in there. I just want to get the base hole drilled out so that we can light block the other side. The other thing I know from past experience is once you sandwich these 2 pieces together, there is very little clearance here. once you put the photo etch in for the little red LED going under there. So I will put this on top as a template and then just grind down a little bit of space on this piece. You know, remember we did our channels here, grind down a little bit of space for the LED to fit in, so that these pieces will close flush. I got the holes ground out, and now I'll use various files to smooth those out. I won't even do a final, I'll just give it a little bit smooth here. Worry about the final when we're putting in the photo etch into there. I have all kinds of hand files. I believe these are kind of, I don't know, they call them like diamond files. And there's, you know, obviously just flat, curved, squared. Then on this set, you've got kind of the finer stuff, like that. And these guys. So, you know, you obviously just pick what appears to be kind of best for what your particular purpose is. This one is flat on this edge, curved on the other, but it's good for getting into tight spots. And we'll just file this with this and the other files until we've got these guys just where we want them. I have loosely mated the two pieces together, not, you know, again, loosely, just enough to be able to use this to just get my get some marking here. It looks like it's going to be right near that channel we drilled, actually. So just give yourself a little marking for to grind down just a little bit so you can get an SMD in each of those, and the pieces will still fit together flat. So you can see right next to this channel here, but so I mean you could literally just, I guess, run SMD, but I'll out into this channel, but I'll just probably carve, you know, quick little channel across here, quick one across here. That'll be perfect. And then this piece will finally be ready for light blocking. I'm going to use the 0805 flicker in red for the whatever this piece is, and as you can imagine, I imagine there might be an 0605, but I haven't been able to find one. But the 0805, this particular one, is still quite tiny, as you can see, yet it's literally about the thickness of the plastic on this piece, and I don't want to break through here. So what I've done, I'm sorry it's so jumpy, but what I've done is shaved about half the width of the SMD, so it'll still sit down in there, and you see it's got a little channel going down to our light port, our wiring ports. Same on the other side, it'll sit in here. So I've drilled as far as I dare drill, but I think that's fine. It takes up about half of that SMD, and I think that'll just be just about right. So I think this piece is ready for light blocking now.